Hi everyone, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are. I'm your host Dr. Haider Shah. On behalf of Kalwas, I would like to welcome all of you to this webinar. Thank you very much for joining us. Today we have another very interesting topic and I'm really honored to welcome and introduce our distinguished guest speaker who is going to talk about instrument adaptation and development. Developing the instrument is the critical part in research methodology, and most of the time, students and researchers are confused whether to adopt or adapt the questionnaire. What is this instrument? Why this instrument? And how is this instrument will be used in their study? So, to do it right in a right way, it must be done through a proper knowledge and sound understanding. And that is why we have an amazing guest who will give us the best insights and a right recommendation about all these things. So stay tuned because an amazing stuff are coming ahead in this session. So before we start, I would like to thank Kalwas for arranging such enlightenment sessions, for their support and providing such a wonderful platform. The aim of Kalwas is to give you the opportunity to connect and interact with world-renowned speakers, academic leaders, teachers, authors, researchers, experts, professionals, and businessmen to learn from their experiences, recommendations, suggestions, and tips, which will create an impact and will enable you to learn and develop yourself in order to grow and transform individually as well as to contribute to the world in a positive way. As our slogan is come, learn, and share knowledge. So today we have an amazing person as a guest. He is an internationally known and recognized speaker, a multi-talented and multi-dynamic person having a vast experience and exposure. He's a great human being and always ready to contribute to the world in a different ways. So let me introduce him formally. He is the Pro Vice Chancellor and full Professor of Business Management in GNS University, India, with double doctorate in Behavioral Sciences and Business Administration. He has undertaken several research projects of strategic management, consumer behavior, entrepreneurship, SMEs development, tourism development, human resource management, and organizational behavior in various countries. Sharing his literary interest, he has written 80 short case studies in business management, 180 international and national peer-reviewed journals publication, and presented more than 76 papers in international and national conferences. Add to this academic credentials, he has 2 patents, 6 copyrights, written 9 books in business management, including 4 case study books and 3 monographs. He is the editor and editorial member of several international high impact journals. Moreover, he has educated faculty members, research scholars, and corporate executives from 25 countries and engaged into research and development and consultancy at national and international level more than 18 years. He has contributed substantially to academic and corporate services and committed his life to academics, research, corporate development, and institutional building process. Last but not the least, he's a wonderful speaker, author, teacher, researcher, trainer, professional, and above everything, a great human being. So please help me in welcoming our guest, Professor Dr. Dileep Kumar. Welcome to Kalwas platform, and thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you, Dr. Haider. Thank you, Kalwas. They're doing an amazing job disseminating this information to the entire world and the research scholars. And I'm looking at my watch now. I don't know when I can stop it. That is exactly the agreement between myself and Haider. So, but this is just a scary one. But I'm telling you, I'll be trying to finish not by 1 hour, making it very clear. It may take 15 minutes here and there. So you should be prepared enough to have a coffee before you or some food before you. And it is amazing knowledge you're going to get it. I'm sure about it.
Yeah.
So today,
thank you very much. Thank you very much, Prof, for such a wonderful and your kind words. You are the great academic leader, and people like you, people they want to listen to you, and they want what you say impacts a lot, particularly in their research journey. So, just a soft reminder to the audience regarding the format of today that Professor Dr. Dileep Kumar will be presenting, and he would leave the time for question answer session at the end of this session. So if you have any question, write in comment section or you can email us at info@kalwas.com. So let's get started. Over to you, Prof.
Thank you, Haider. Thank you, Kalwas. So as Dr. Haider told you, you can ask n number of questions, and I'm for you today. And if it is beyond my limit, certain things, I'm sure Haider will be getting that question and I will be answering personally that way. But a lot of queries I'm going to answer you today. And it is a really, really required for new generation scholars. At the same time, the scholars who are exactly doing also have some mistakes they may be doing. They can correct it because we are not perfect in the way God has created in many aspects. So every realm we can improve ourselves. Even I was a small scholar long back, long back. So grown up like that with a lot of mistakes and corrections and likewise, right? So today I'm going to share you a particular session on instrumentation. Uh, we used to take the terms instrumentation a lot, and it is a scary part. I'm telling you, this is very easy part, but people make it so scary enough to understand this one. That's what making the knowledge so simple enough to understand you is my job. And I'll be doing this in this next 1.5 hour session. So in this session, start from the scratch, I'm going to talk to you about items, instruments, item analysis, scale, developing the scale, instrument plus scale development. Unless and until you got these first 5 to 6 elements, you cannot do the next element, instruments plus scale development. Slowly, we have to come up with that path. Then only we can talk about, do I adopt an instrument? Do I adapt an instrument? Or do I develop an instrument? The toughest part, I'm telling you, the developing phase of instrument and itself is a PhD thesis. A PhD thesis itself, a 3 year to 4 years will be taking if you want to really develop a new instrument. But usually what is happening, either through adoption or through adaptation, we are exactly proceeding our thesis. All right, let us have this idea about it. What are the things all about? The module 1 is connected with item analysis. So you need to know basically what are items, what are exactly connected, these kind of terms with the research and how it is integrated into the methodology section, the third chapter of the thesis of any dissertation, all right, or any publication comes of research methodology, you have to write it down. So there you have to incorporate a lot of aspects, right? So let us understand this aspect first. Instrument and scale development. When you look upon this aspect, I can tell you, this is the one you need to understand. Instrument scale development is a systematic process. Really, you have to devote a lot of time for that. A lot of time. Take an example. You want to measure, you want to have an idea about entrepreneurial orientation. There is a concept called as entrepreneurial orientation. When you talk about entrepreneurial orientation and likewise, in 1990s, how they measured. In 1995, how that same concept measured. In 2000, in 2015 or 20, it will be totally different. So if you get an instrument which is developed in 1990s or 1995, may not be suitable enough to do it now. Why I'm telling you? Because every concept is progressively, what you would say, they are enhancing their attributes. One, by take an example, long years back, entrepreneurial orientation might have measured through, take an example of openness. One construct is called openness or risk-taking ability. But when it comes to 1990 finish 2000, it has increased to market orientation and competitive aggressiveness. Means that openness, risk-taking, market orientation, and then connecting to the other variable, the new one which is developed, competitive aggressive. But you look at now the same construct is measuring to another 2 more variables, 3 more sub-constructs have come up, like open, that means what you would say, mean and orientation, basic tolerance, confrontation. So now that particular same concept of entrepreneurial orientation, when you look upon, it has built up by 7 sub-constructs rather than a small 2 1. So most important thing, as a research scholar, you need to create the concept in such a way which consists of all the psychometry property developed by the recent research scholars. So if you miss out that element, you won't be able to capture the full concept. So most importantly, you need to devote so much of time to understand how these particular construct progressively developed. It takes some time. That's the pleasure of any kind of understanding related to the concepts. So from openness, risk-taking, what you would say, confrontation, connecting to competitive aggressiveness, connected to mean and orientation, basic tolerance, competitive aggressiveness, market orientation, lot of sub topics you are getting under the same concept. So if you select a wrong instrument, automatically it has gone out of your control. And you will be getting all insignificant finding. So where exactly you are starting? Instrument. If your instrument is wrong, your finding is already wrong. So always remember, you can correct it at the time of your instrument analysis or item analysis time. So you have to create. That's a process called as construction. You know that a building, if you want to construct, we need water, we need sand, we need iron rods, a lot of things we built up slowly, we pick up things, the right rods, the right iron rods, the right sand, the right mix, the right cement. The way you are mixing it and putting it into the architecture, that create a good building. The same thing is applicable to you, either through form of adaptation or something. You have to be very careful when you adopt certain instruments, because that instruments may be coming from West. It may not suitable to East. The concepts and the constructs which is developed through rich participants means that rich respondents, they have rich money with them. Their needs are totally different. So when you come down to Southeast Asia, Asia, or developing and underdeveloped countries, and like us, many times we need to look at the psychometry property of these concepts much closer, because customization of those concepts very difficult in Islamabad region or Karachi region or Rawalpindi region. It's very tough for you. So we need to construct the concept in accordance with the requirement of a locale. This is most important thing you need to identify. So when you adopt an instrument properly, there are chances that this may create problem to your findings. So this is a scary part. So first of all, you create it either from single author or from multiple authors. You have very option, no problem. But certain, what you would say, patterns or the sequencing you have to follow, just follow that. That's all. So the first part is developing a questionnaire. So in order to understand this term, I'm going very deep into it. But you need to have a questionnaire. What is this questionnaire? We never use in research the term questionnaire at all. We use instrument. That's what instrument development, instrument adoption, instrument adaptation, all these instrument never use. If you are a good research scholar, you are supposed to use which instrument I'm using. Oh, this is the instrument I'm using. So you need to practice the research language first. All right. So questionnaire, all these common man language, don't use it. You can sometimes maybe are using schedule, which is different from questionnaire. It is different from questionnaire exactly. So how are you going to apply that in the field? This is most important, either as a questionnaire form or as in a schedule form. It's okay with us, but we are asking only one question. What is the instrument you are going to use? Because we need to know who the person built up it. How many items are, see, another word is coming, item. I'll explain to you that. Either through survey we collect it, or through direct interaction we collect it. But most important thing, this questionnaire is to be connected with a proper scale. A proper scale. I'm going to describe you minute things now. All right. So you need to have a proper rating scale. That also I'll be explaining to you different types of scales, and you'll be getting an idea about it, where we can use certain type of scales and likewise. And finally, what is the purpose of this instrumentation? The purpose of this instrumentation is getting proper response from the respondents. If the instrument doesn't have the proper capability to get the proper response, without any hesitation, they are sharing you their response connected with the questions. If that's not happening, no use at all. And you will be getting a lot of insignificant findings, or it will be going to partial effects. It won't be going to a full effect. So why these full effect and partial effects, all these things? Because of the strength of the instrument. So if you choose a right instrument, I'm sure about it, lot of issues you can settle down. So here in this aspect, we need to know certain terms like instrument. What is the term instrument? We are also talking about questionnaire in the common men term. So don't confuse. Don't confuse. This is the same thing I'm talking, questionnaire. Questionnaire we call in research is instrument. The term instrument may refer to a question, only a single question also okay, but multiple questions also okay. Depends upon the complexity of the phenomenon. If the phenomenon is so complex, we need to ask more number of questions. All right, if the phenomenon is simple, 4 to 5 questions, as based on PLS and likewise, you can at least 3 questions or 3 items are required. This is the minimum number of items required. So nowadays we are not using single item questions. It's not capable enough to get a proper normal distributed data and likewise. So always remember at least 3 plus questions should be there in your construct, each construct. So an instrument may refer to a question or collection of questions. We call it as a set. And we have to apply that in any area. I'm giving you 4 scales that measure aspects of classroom engagement, teaching effectiveness, productivity, or supply chain effectiveness, or anything you can consider. We need to measure the response. This is the most important thing. Through the items, we need to get it. We need to get their attitude or perception connected with that. This is most important. So instruments basically are standardized questionnaires. We call it a standardized. Why standardized? The term standardization is using. The term is already developed by some good research authors. And they have used it continuously. At the same time, they have distributed these questionnaires across the globe. And different regions of this globe, they applied that questionnaire, and that questionnaire turned to be valid and reliable. I'm going to explain it later, these 2 terms. All right. Please listen. Please take out these terms, validity and reliability. This is most important thing you need to consider. Later, I will tell you all these things. So across the globe, if an instrument is applied and they got a validation, proper validation, all right, at the same time, a proper reliability scores, then that instrument is called as standardized. All right, so you need to understand what is a standardized questionnaire. This only you are supposed to use it in your research. You cannot use in accordance with your own fancies. You cannot write by yourself any single item by yourself. Please try to understand. You cannot, you don't have any right to develop yourself. Development stage to be authenticated through proper measurement model analysis. A lot of process I'm going to talk about it. And don't get into this blunder. So always search a standardized instruments. Better, it is safe for you. But at the same time, it is unsafe for you. Why? Because you are adapting this from West. You are adapting this questionnaire or adoption of this questionnaire from the West. So it may not be suitable. Almost similar properties are existing, but you need to indigenize it, customize it in your locale. All right, that's what we are doing, pilot testing, all these things. So I'll be coming back to that. So most important aspect is standardized instruments which develop proper reliability. What is reliability? Consistency. Another term of reliability called as consistency. It's not inconsistent. Means that same type of reliability scores are getting across the globe. You put in Pakistan, you put in India, you put in Malaysia, you put in China, you put in Europe. Everywhere you are getting a standardized and acceptable score and above a value, which means that you can depend on it. So what do you mean by reliability? Dependability. How much I can, take an example, you have a good friend. How much you can depend on a friend? If any pain or any pleasure come to your life, how much you can depend on that friend? So you have a trust element on trustworthiness, correct? The same thing we are talking about the instruments. You are taking an instrument. You're going to marry with that instrument in your thesis. Is it a good girl? Is it a good boy? That you have to check it. And otherwise, divorce will be happening. Sure. Why? Incongruence. The test and the results. The pilot testing and the results. won't be matching up in accordance with your populace, means that population. So it will be happening. So why these departing of things happening? When you develop, the most important thing, it is not suitable. The best developed instruments are not suitable to the East. So when you do literature metrics, there is a concept called as literature metrics. When you develop the literature metrics, every construct, take an example, organizational commitment. How many instruments available in this world? This is the first task of you. This is the first task. So you may get around 30, 40 instruments. Next, another question coming. Which one I should use it then? This is another question. Everything you can use it. Every instrument is capable because they have shown the reliability and validity properly. But my question is, why you have chosen this instrument, Maude questionnaire, in comparison with the other? This is, as a jury, my question to you. So you need to give a proper logic to me. If you don't give me proper logic, I will reject you. I will reject you. So always be. I'm telling you, research is not purely scientific in nature. It is logical in nature. Why I'm telling you this? Why I'm telling you? Because when an instrument is used in West, cannot use in, means that little bit inconsistency happening. So if it is purely scientific, 1 + 1 is equal to 2 everywhere, correct? If you look upon 1 + 1 is equal to 2, there is no argument at all. It will be 1.9999 something will be getting every point of time. But an instrument case, because it is connected with social phenomenon, and the social phenomenon changing, responses will be changing. All right, so we cannot depend on the same instrument which developed in the past and use it in the present. So standardized questionnaire may help you, but many times may not help you also. That you have to understand. Even when you collect a standardized questionnaire, care should be taken. It is applicable in Islamabad region or Rawalpindi region or in Karachi region. These regions, that's what we are doing pilot testing. We need to get it. So instruments measure specific latent constraint, whether it is motivation or it is perfectionism, leadership, transactional, transformational, anything you take into consideration. That purpose is to examine multiple types of specific research questions. When the research questions changes, some sort of, take an example, you're measuring leadership. My question is, it's a broad area. Which leadership? Is it servant leadership? Is it transformational? Is it transactional? So if you use leadership, it's wrong. You need to be very specific when you come down to the questionnaire level. You are measuring leadership, and actually you are measuring transactional and you're using transformational. Think, there is a problem. There is a problem. So we need to take an example, another one, greenfield concept like servant leadership, impact of servant leadership on, what you would say, employee loyalty or employee commitment. So when you are using, we are exactly expecting leaders, transformational leadership rather than transactional going to the managerial level, execution level, but transformational going to the leaders level. So are you going to measure the leadership element? Means that it's not connected truly with lower level, it's connected with the higher order managers. So they should show the transformational leadership. Got it? So be clear on what are you measuring. That's called validity. The construct, what you have selected, is measuring properly or not. That's we call it as validity. And can I depend on that instrument? Reliability. This is very simple term. Can I depend on that instrument? Can I trust that instrument? What is the trust element? Can I depend lifelong? Same responses I'll be getting? I'm okay, consistent. If sometimes crying, sometimes smiling, sometimes embarrassed, sometimes, oh my God, I don't know how to trust that guy or a gal. The same thing we are telling, is a moody person. So our instrument should not be moody. Our instrument should be stable and sound. That's the purpose with which we are exactly moving on. Pilot study, measurement model analysis, and likewise. All right. So we need to look at the items. What are items basically? You need to understand there is a questionnaire. I told you, don't use the term questionnaire. Now I'm going to use continuously instrument. Okay. Please taken care of this aspect. I'm going to use only instrument. So instrument consists of, what are the instruments? Either single item or multiple items. What are items then? Items we call it as single task or a question. A question, a simple question is called as item. This is qualitative. It is not quantitative. This is another thing you need to understand. People talk about quantitative. No. This is simply, my boss is very rigid. My boss is very rigid. Okay, it's simply a qualitative statement. You can tell a story to me. It's completely open-ended, but it's an item. It's an item. Likewise, 5 qualitative statements can come before you. But what makes the difference between an item in an instrument and item itself? This is most important thing you need to clear about. So I'm going to explain that one to you. Single task or a question that usually cannot be broken down into similar units, which we call it as item. Which we call it as item exactly. So let us have an idea about this one. All right, like we need to have number of items with which we need to get the responses from the participants or the respondents exactly we are collecting. Most important thing, it can be a single question or multiple question that we call it as items. All right. So when you talk about that one, it can be in the form of a lot of numbers, a lot of maybe 100 questions or 100 items. Now onwards, I'm going to use items. 100 items inside the instrument, or 30 instrument, 40 instrument, 40 items. One instrument consists of lot of constructs and lot of items are coming in between. So we need to have proper numbering. So now you understand what is an item. Item is a question itself, and it is not considered properly quantitative way. Now still it is in a qualitative way. People can talk a lot of stories on that particular statement, and I don't want they should talk too much. That is a qualitative research, open-ended questions. I don't want, in quantitative research, I don't want them to talk too much. I want them to talk only their perception that should be linked to certain numbers. So unless and until a qualitative perception, a qualitative attitude that cannot be converted into numbers, you cannot measure it. You cannot measure it. The purpose of measurement is this conversion. Take an example. You go to a field and you talk to some people and they will respond to you. What they are responding, they are not responding to you in numbers. They're responding to, they'll be telling you a story and you are exactly ticking all these based on the scales available to you. What are they doing? They are giving qualitative and you are converting into quantitative form. But is it okay? Is it finished? Your research? No. Once again, this quantity, once again to be converted into quali for interpretation. From where it started. So it is a vicious circle, quali to quanti to quali to quanti. This circle is going on. If you don't interpret, common man cannot understand what you have collected. So for a small, that means a little time, you convert that attitude and perspective into numbers. All right, and that numbers once again converted into interpretation during the analysis and result stage. That is exactly happening in research. All right, so responses. Most important thing is these responses of participants need to be analyzed. Before you go for a larger extent of study, you need to understand whether this particular instrument is good enough to get proper responses from the respondent or not. This is most important. That's what we are doing, pilot testing and likewise. So we examine the response to individual test items. Each question means that each item incorporated into the instrument, first of all, should go to pre-testing. I'll explain to you later. Then post-testing through pilot testing. Got it. So pre-testing and pilot testing are important thing to understand the items which we are exactly performing to a particular respondent, giving you particular responses to you back. Take an example. I'm a teacher. I have so many students in my classroom. Take an example. I have 50 students inside my classroom. I cannot expect all the students as genius. You got it? They cannot perform to me properly. I know that as a teacher. So, but initially, I need to know, before I start teaching, I need to know who are the people who can respond properly, perform properly. So this is pre-test. We call it as pre-test. So I'll do a kind of testing and I try to understand, okay, 10 to 15 people are high performers. That means another 20% moderate and another were low. So can we incorporate these low performers into the classroom? This is a teacher is doing. Same thing you have to do. In that classroom, specifically in research, we need to get high performers. You got it? We cannot maintain the low performers. We are not good teachers in the sense that so human teachers and likewise. No. We need to look at high performer students and make a classroom. And that classroom we need to teach. The same thing is applicable. You have 50 items before you. These 50 items cannot perform all the items because you are taking from the West or from different region this questionnaire. That questionnaire is applicable to your country, no idea. So what are you doing? You do pilot testing. So with which you can understand how many items are performing well, how many items are not performing well. Their segregation happens, and sometimes you can see full instrument cannot use at all. Sometimes you can tell 20% items are redundant. You don't have to. But don't reduce any number of items by yourself. You don't have any right to touch the instrument. You don't have any right to, if 40 items are there, that 40 items belong to somebody and they have proper validation, proper reliability. And you, as a scholar, don't touch it. You are just a scholar. Got it? So it is a big crime you are doing. Okay, I want only this item. I want only that item. Okay. So I'll tell you when you can use this kind of approach. I want this item. I want deletion should not be done through your whims and fancies. Deletion to be done through proper statistical method. There is a method available. Follow that pattern. It will be acceptable to the jury. If it's not acceptable. Got it? So those items, we need to take an example. Some items are so ambiguous in nature, unclear to the respondent, not fit into, because what they think and what you are asking, no relevance, no relationship at all. You think that it is relevant because you studied a lot from literature review. This is very important variable. That is very important. You collected a lot of items and likewise. But when you talk really to Rawalpindi faculty members or Pakistan related, take an example, Islamabad's faculty members, and you are trying to apply that instrument, this is not connected with me. Why I should answer this question? No relevance at all. So this is exactly the, what you would say, checking you have to make. It's ambiguity. Any misleading items are inside the items or not, which is confusing to the participants, which is confusing to the respondents or not. So we need clarity. We need absolute clarity. So the purpose of item analysis, you know item? Item is a question. So items need to be analyzed properly. Items need to be analyzed. What are these analysis waiting? Ambiguity, difficulty, distractions, complexity, lack of responses, all these things you need to collect it. If you don't do it, just dump this questionnaire before the face of somebody and you just take it and give. This is not the way to do the research. You need to have absolute patience. If they tell you that, okay, I don't want to answer any question, I don't want to attend this, please accept their, what you would say, response, because a researcher should not be reactive. He should or she should have the patience to get acceptance from or acknowledgement. If you don't get proper consent and willingness, you are getting some items which is just tick it and give it you back. It will be completely misleading and giving you insignificant findings, which doesn't have a relation, and you cannot take any answer, or the corporate cannot take any action on the decision making difficult. Exactly wrong response is coming. So we need to get greater emphasis on the clarity. So you need to eliminate the ambiguity. That's what the purpose with which we are doing item analysis. Item analysis provides a way of measuring quality items. Quality items means that items can perform towards the respondents properly. You will get the proper response. And we need to check the difficulty. Some items are so difficult to answer. Some difficult, easy to answer. Some items so discriminated, don't use race, don't use a kind of gender related issues and likewise. So these are all the issues connected with that. These are the issues connected. So we need to understand the difficulty, distractions, or we need to understand the discriminations. these are all problems to see. You are giving a questionnaire to me or an instrument to me and answer. If I feel the items are difficult, how I can answer? Think about yourself. Put into the shoes of your respondent and think, can I answer this question or not? So by giving item in an experimental design to a group of examiners, that gives you a fairly representative of the target. That means you are sending around 100, what you would say, pilot test. You are getting around 80% level, you are getting around good response. You can rely on that. But if you're getting only 20% responses connected with the items you're posing, you need to check that, because there will be problem connected with item discrimination, item distractions, or item complexity, item difficulty. Some sort of issues are happening. Hence, because proper responses are not coming from the respondents. So the most important aspect is retention of those items which can perform well. Most important aspect. That's what I told you. 50 students are in my classroom. I'm not here to teach the 50 different heterogeneous type of classroom. I want to get the most performing student, high performing students. Exactly the same thing. I have a 30 item instrument available, or I constructed. But my question is, am I going to use the full items? That is adoption. But am I going to look at its performance? Yes, you can really look on the possibility of pilot testing and look at the performance and then think about it, how I can move, how many items I can retain it. This is most important. How many items I can retain for my final instrumentation. So you may get 30 items. It doesn't mean that all the items are good enough to go to the field and get the respondents completely. So we need to look at the possibility of that. So here, in this aspect, what do you mean by item analysis? Measuring the quality of items, and you look at the difficulty, the challenges, discrimination, distractions. If take an example, I know that this is the answer, but the options given may be distracting from my real truth. How much distraction is getting into that affects clearly your study. So to be eliminated. So you need to look at the item difficulty. How much percentage the difficult items you have incorporated into the instrument. If the item are too easy, of course, the skewness is the result. Skewness, either it is left or, sorry, no, means either towards the left or to the right, then normal distribution getting is very difficult for you. Normal distribution is not getting, a binomial curve is not getting from the data. It's very difficult for you to do any kind of statistical analysis. Of course, PLS, all these things are there to support you to fix this one. But you can do that fixation at the time of pre-testing and pilot testing itself. All right. So items should not be too easy. Items should not be too challenging. Means that the questions you are asking should not be too challenging to the respondents. At the same time, too, easy for them to immediately. So the items you are generating should be thinkable. At least some seconds, they have to think about it, corroborate it with their frame of references, then answer it. That will be the right way of response. It's not like just take it and give it back to you. So in either case, the items may add to the unreliability of the items because it does not aid in differentiating between those respondents who know the items and those who doesn't. This is the difference exactly you are trying to catch up. So, for example, an item answered correctly by everyone does nothing to aid in the assignment of grades. The same is true for the items that no one answers correctly also. These are the two things you have to manage properly. So, item difficulty test means that for the discussion, I can ask you this question, just for discussion. Is a test that 100% answered too easy? Is it a good test? Is it test items everybody failed? Is it a good test? We are all talking about teachers. You used to talk about Bloom's taxonomy and connecting with what you would say, so matrix and likewise. We need to look at which level of students. We need to look at what is the cognitive level. Based on that, we have to look at the items connected with the question paper. The same thing is applicable here also. So it should not be too difficult. It should not be too easy. And we need to get a proper idea. So if you get a proper balanced items, not too challenging, not too easy, and then you will get a results like this. When you do the analysis properly, you look at here, you can see here a proper normal distribution of the response. This you can do it early itself, pilot testing stage itself. You can do it. You look at the second one. The second one, you can see here, it is already skewed. This, it's very difficult for you to, means that all the item answers are going towards 4.4, and that means above, and likewise it is already skewed the data, and it will be going up like this. When you get the response properly, that means when you collect the pilot testing, you get the data like this. With this, you cannot do anything. This is the toughest part of any research scholar. Why? Because they have not done properly a proper item analysis. Sometimes it will be, when you look at the histogram with the responses coming from the field, it will be like this. Sometimes it will be like this also. It may go to the opposite side, the responses. So, but we should not go to this kind of skewed data. We need to really look into a normal data. This I have shown you here. This is the first one is perfect. You'll be getting a data like this. So when you go for pilot testing, please ensure that the responses getting from the participants are normally distributed. Then only that particular kind of instrument is good enough to use it. All right. In that particular stage, this is the first stage of your understanding. What is item? And what do you mean by item analysis? What is item analysis? You are trying to look at the responses of the respondents through the statistical analysis of histogram and check whether the data is skewed towards left, skewed towards right. No. It is perfectly normally distributed. If that's okay, now it's a time for you to understand scaling. So there is a step-by-step understanding all the things you should you should be recalled when you go for these kind of instrumentation. So the module number 2 is clearly linked to instruments, and I'm now introducing a term called scaling. I told only about the items. This is qualitative in nature. Now I'm connecting to scales, means that I need to convert this qualitative information to quantitative information. Then only you will get the normal distribution or skewness or kurtosis or anything. All right. So scales are, what are these scales basically? Scales are a set of questions or items that collectively are expected to measure the theoretical constructs. There is a term, theoretical construct is a bit complicated. You need to understand what is a theory then. A theory consists of 4 components. A theory consists of 4 components. The first component is concept. A theory consists of concepts. A theory consists of a relationship between the concepts. A theory explains the relationship between the concepts. But there should be a logic. The logic you're talking in Islamabad may be different in Europe, may be different in Africa. There should be a logic of integration of those concepts. And finally, you take a discipline and you talk about a population, there should be a boundary. So when you talk about a concept, relationship, logic, and boundary, that we call components of theory. So the constructs are connected with a theory. Take an example, TPB, attitude, subjective norm, and then connecting to the perceived behavioral control, leading to intention. This is the theory you talk about. You can integrate any kind of constructs into that. It's okay. But initially, this is what I talk about. You like progression of theory is also happening. Initially, when it started the theory, the cognitive theories, attitude leading to intention was exactly explained. Later stage, attitude and subjective norm leading to intention, that we call it as TRA, theory of reasoned action. Then it has changed further, theory of planned behavior. The same theory is going on, cognitive theory. Now it is earlier it is talking about just a few, maybe years back, it is talking about TPB, theory of planned behavior. Now we are talking about decomposed theory of planned behavior. Now it's moving towards evolutionary theories and likewise, right? So if you select a theory from the past, it may not be suitable now. This is, I'm telling you, need to understand theory progression. This theory progression, why it is important? Because theories are connected with the constructs. Constructs connected with the relationship. Relationship have a logic. The logic of the past may not work in the present. Got it? So boundary to be specifically mentioned. It's a psychological variable, sociological variable, entrepreneurial variable, economic variable. Then you have to go economic theories, entrepreneurship theories, psychological theories. So all are different. When you do an interdisciplinary study, there also it will be different. You need to get multiple theories exactly to explain the same phenomenon. Means that the instruments used in sociology cannot be used in psychology, cannot be used in economics. So you need to have a balance of the things you are exactly integrating into the model. So now let us understand what are the scales talking about. We need to connect these theoretical constructs. A construct, the concept is available. It's an abstract phenomenon. Unless and until you can measure it, we cannot call it as a tangible phenomenon. Always it is intangible in nature, because the way people have explained varied from east to west or south to north, everybody differently explained it. But which one is suitable to Rawalpindi region or it is suitable to Islamabad region, we are not sure about it. That's what we need to do pilot testing many times. So the scales are set of specific questions we need to connect. That items we need to clearly talk about. Constructs means, take an example, entrepreneurship. Your entrepreneurial orientation, in which one variable is risk-taking, sub-construct. So how many items I want to use it? Other example, service quality. You're talking about service quality. It is multi-sub-constructs integrated one. So here, tangibility, reliability, assurance, empathy, or responsiveness, 5 sub-factors connected to the service quality domain. So items inside the tangibility domain, how many items I can ask? Reliability, how many? So already existing Parashuram, Zetmal, and Berry, already existing instrument of ServQual available, 22 items, and likewise you can take it. But my question, when you select that items, what kind of scales, what kind of items you can use it in Malaysian region or in Indian or in Islamabad region, we are not sure about it. That's what we want to use pilot testing. So different scales available. So an instrument, when you call an instrument, what is this instrument? Instrument is items plus scale. Simple term, there is no confusion here. No need to read any textbook. Just think, I have a question. The time I'm connecting with it a scale, it is called an instrument. It can be a single item or multiple item based on multiple construct or a single construct, it's okay. So what is measurement all about then? Measurement is not statistics. Measurement in research is connected with the stability. We are checking the stability of the items. You got it. So items plus a scale is called as instruments, and with that we are measuring a construct. So the measurement consists of several elements: items, scales. Collectively, items and scales together we call instrument, and all the instruments together we call measurements. Measurement. So systematically we need to understand this one. So different types of scales available. It can be nominal scale, it can be ordinal scale, it can be interval scale, it can be ratio. So usually what we use is interval scale. Certain type of statistics we cannot use in ordinal one or in nominal. Certain type of analysis impossible. Usually when we have prediction or estimation, usually when we have the purpose of prediction or estimation, we use interval scale. Usually we need to understand what is all about this one, where we can use it and likewise, right? So the scales are distinguished on the basis of relationship assumed to exist between the objects, the variable having different scales. Some constructs having 5-point scale, some having 7 points, some having 8 points. But usually if you get a midpoint, it will be so easy. If you don't get a midpoint, it will be a little tough, but you can do it. It's not a big game, but still you can. But we prefer, the statisticians also prefer, it should be having a midpoint. So good scale, if you ask me which one, be around 7-point scale, and likewise it's a good scale to get the best response, varied response from respondents. So the 4 scales types are ordered in that all later scales have all the properties of either scales plus additional properties. When you look upon the nominal scale, you are nominating. As a researcher, you are exactly nominating. Male, you give as 1. See, what is male? Male is a text. It's a qualitative text, but it is not a number. So you cannot do anything in quantitative research with the support of male and female. How many male, how many female? So this will be converted into numbers. So the instruments you are using, the time you do that SPSS, and you can definitely segregate the variable 1 and 2, 1 and 2, and likewise how many males, how many females. So 40 females, 40 males, likewise I have. So you need to get this called norm. You are nominating. You cannot do too much of statistics with that. The numbers, second is ordinal scale. You are exactly segregating, like strongly agree, strongly agree, undecided, disagree, strongly disagree. Likewise, 5, you clearly ordered. Still, you are not giving the respondents to have a midpoint between agree and strongly disagree. This is the problem. It's clearly you are leading a respondent to pick one directly. Still, you are doing a manipulation. As far as me concerned, ordinal scales, the problem is that still you are leading the respondent. You are not giving an option in between agree and or strongly agree, or disagree and strongly disagree, no midpoints. So this is another issue we are talking about. So some sort of analysis we cannot do with ordinal scale. All right, but lot of past instruments which we are using having the property of ordinal scales. This is one of the issue with which sometimes you are getting insignificant findings, because you are not allowing the respondents to give free response. Take an example here. You ordered it properly and you have to pick it up. And you are not allowing the respondents to go in between. Either you hot, or it is hotter, or it is hottest. That's all. You are clearly demarcating things. But an interval scale, which is different from these 2 categories I'm talking about, and I'm suggesting you to do that. Equal differences. The interval differences are meaning you can pick up, the response can pick up any point in between strongly agree to strongly. You are not ordering in between anything. Give a free response, completely free response to the respondents. Okay, you decide on it. Look at here. In the second one, you can see over here, like, take an example, the last one, the banking method. Inside the bank, drive-up window, 24 hours ATM, debit card, bank by mail, bank by phone, bank by internet. You look at that one. So never use is 0. Use very often is 10. Let the respondent to select their own way. Give the freedom to the respondents, basically. And this will be giving you a truth very close to the reality. Rather than you are leading your respondents, not giving any freedom to them to talk. You know that in comparison with the qualitative research, we are not giving so much of freedom to the respondents in quanti. Qualitative research, you ask any question, we call it as protocol. You can ask any number of questions and they will be giving you stories, because it's based on text, feelings and emotions of the people. But in quanti, we are not interested. We are interested to put you into numbers, because we are going for a kind of analysis. All right. So put this course like this. Don't put anything in between. Don't put anything in between. Let all these, then only you can do certain analysis like regression, structural equation modeling, all these things. If you want to use, you have to use basically interval scales, etc. Interval scales. So this is the purpose with which we are exactly using interval scales more. All right. So then coming into the next picture, which is called as ratio scale. This also not used so much of used in the case of what you would say in the case of management, social sciences, all these things. But this is more connected with what you would say science field. But Sometimes you can use in money, weight, distance, temperature on these kind of things you can use it. The difference between interval scale and here it is that there is a true 0 point in the case of ratio scale. And the ratios are so having high validity in comparison with interval scale also. If you ask me, out of these four, which one is most important, it's the ratio scale itself. But we cannot use it in many platforms, our psychological, sociological variables and likewise, hence because we prefer interval scales. So physical states like time, length, volume, all these things are into that. So take an example, boys 20 and girls 30, likewise the difference. So you'll be getting 1:1.5 and likewise the ratio level. But this is not connected to you totally. So instruments wise, we can use any scales, but we use usually interval scales. Now, so you understand what is an item, what is an item, why we have to do item analysis, second term. Then I have connected this item and item analysis with instrument. And then from there, I have connected with the scale now. Item, instrument, scale, now scale development. How can we develop a scale? All right. So it may start with a qualitative exploration. This is most important aspect. A qualitative exploration. Don't think that it is quantitative one. So that's what development is. That means questionnaire development is much different in comparison with adaptation and adoption we are talking about. We have to clearly ensure the scale development process, and it should be there in your thesis. So here, scale development starts with a qualitative interviews, observation, content analysis, expert interviews, Delphis opinion, focus group discussions, a lot of things you have to do. Then only you can get final opinion on that items which are truly useful to the study. I'm going to give an explanation on that. Don't worry, I'll give a good example and you'll be very clear about it. So with the combining of items in an existing data set that were not originally designed to measure the construct of interest, there is an instrument available. But when I put it in the pilot study, none of the items suitable to my Islamabad region, because the psychometry property is totally different. Same concept. Entrepreneurship will be the same concept across the globe. But when I put it in Islamabad, they're giving a different response. Oh my God, why? It is then which instrument I should use, which item I should use. I'm so confused. That particular time, you have to develop a new instrument. You cannot follow any existing instrument. I'm going to talk about that. So you need to understand certain type of differences connected scale development. What is the purpose of scale development? The purpose is to measure a theoretical construct. The purpose of a scale development, we have a theory and connected with so many constructs, and we have to measure it. That is the purpose of scale development. So qualitative procedures with which literature review, construct development, expert review, preliminary items checking, cognitive testing, all these things are happening. All these things are happening. This is the purpose of a scale development. Whether that particular scale with a construct which I'm using is suitable to my locale or not. The items which are coming from the west and east is applicable to my region or not. This is the thing you are exactly looking into. That's what many times we are getting insignificant finding. We don't put much effort. 50% of the problems will be solved if your measurements are okay. Literature you can fix means that the time you are studying a research, a type of literature which is just supporting you to move on along. But later, when you fix an instrument and you go on, you think that kind of literature is outdated. You can fix it later. But instruments, when you fixed it, you have to do once again data collection process. It's very tedious task for you. Getting into the same place, getting into the respondents and collect a lot of money and time consuming aspects. And it is so embarrassing also. So please try to understand this issue. Developing on the sense that adaptation or everything should be carefully taken. And spend more time at the development stage or selection of the instrument stage in comparison with the other type of, what you would say, the chapters you have to fix it. The other chapters you are fixing, you can give little importance, but here you have to give more importance, especially for quantitative research method application. So here, when you consider, I'm going to show you developing stage. This I'm going to explain very detail in the later stage. But in a single diagram, I'm going to explain to you. All right, this is the one. Look at this one properly. This is called instrument and scale development. It consists of 5 steps. The first step is collect the background. That's what I told you. Qualitative approach, literature review, content analysis, observation, diaries or memos or expert opinion. Look at the face validity. All these things you look initially collect maximum number of items connected with the locale. Then from there you develop the concepts. From that particular type of contents, you have to develop the concept, then connecting that to the format and data analysis portion, then look at the validity of those items connected to your region, then finally, how much I can trust that particular items and items connected to the scale, and finally instruments. If you don't look at this aspect, it's very tough for you to get proper. That's what the finding, like you are getting many times partial significance, 20% predictability, only 30% predictability. Why you are getting, when you do the regression R square, you are getting 30% predictability alone. Means that 70% of the constructs incorporated into your model is not giving you proper explanation connected to the prediction. Means that your literature review is wrong, your instrument is wrong. So hence, because only 30% prediction possible. Means that localized concept have not generated. Localized concept not generated. So this is most important thing, keep in your mind. So you start with here. This is exactly, you look at here the background. So you need, based on the research questions or some sort of questions you want to answer, look at the research questions and hypothesis properly, construct. So you need to look at finally the IVs and DVs and all these things leading to, this is exactly concept of IV, concept of DV, concept of mediation or moderation, and any kind of control variables. All these things you have to fix it. And the next stage is coming into the data analysis, means that you are formatting it properly. And after formatting, you are giving to the expert panel. Expert panel, okay, sir, I have developed this many items connected with this instrument. Can you check it? Maybe you are giving to your friends first of all. Then you are giving to some experts, then professors, then industrial people. There you are going to collect data. Everywhere you need to cross-check. So the panel of experts will be looking at the readability first, whether a respondent can properly answer. I told you, difficult terms should not be used. Difficult term, because they cannot answer you. So item difficulty, terms difficulty, complexity, easiness, everything will be evaluated by the panel of experts. And that's called Institutional Review Board, IRB. Once that is cleared, it will go for pilot testing. That is field test. Field test coming here. Then coming to the, what you would say, revisions, minor corrections, all these things. And it will be going to, once again, pilot testing with the right instrument. With the right instrument, and look at dependability of it. So pre-testing will be finishing over here, and post-testing will be coming here. It will be going to proper Cronbach alpha. That is old one. Now it is composite reliability. All these things are coming into PLS modeling. I'm not going towards that. So it is finally leading to ready for it. This is the process you have to follow. So here in this stage, you need to understand. Now I talked about items, instrument, scale, scale development, and instrument and scale, how we can do that. Now it's a time you to touch adaptation, adoption, and development. I hope you have got the fundamentals now. Now I'm going to pick up little bit complex ones. All right, easy for you. Still, we are talking about adoption, adaptation, and development. So if you find a pre-existing instrument, the difference is, I'm going to talk about that. If you find a pre-existing instrument that will be useful to measure a key variable in your study, there are 2 ways that instrument can be used. We can analyze it. There are 2 ways. One, we call it as, I'm telling you, an instrument pre-existing available to you. Okay, remember my word, pre-existing means that standardized questionnaire, standardized instrument available to you. You have 2 options. One option, adoption of that without any change. Without any, you don't touch that any items, completely apply that because it's reliability already done, validation already done. You don't have to do anything. But you feel that still there are some variables having some problems. It may not suitable to our location. Let us have a look on that, and likewise, that particular time you have to adapt the items from different authors also. The same instrument cannot explain. So take an example, openness and what you would say, risk taking. These two factors may be existing. But now you understand proactivity as well as competitive aggressiveness. So these two instruments are not, these two variables are not incorporated in the first instrument. That particular time you have to adapt from different authors. From different authors, you have to get the items. And finally, you have to fix as. So this is called as adoption, adaptation, and likewise. So if you find a pre-existing instrument that will be useful to measure a key variable, that are two ways you can do it. One is adoption, nearly verbatim, not change. On the other hand, you can significantly, after instrumentation, little bit you can make adoption. So what I'm going to do is first I'll explain to you adapting. Adopt, take an example. In general, adopting, we usually prefer adapting. Why? Because this is a requirement of new generation research. The terms used in the West, the terms used in different countries may be changing that psychometric property in your location. People cannot understand the way you are talking. So we need to usually adapt in comparison with adopt. First, when the instrument is adopted, then the reliability and validity of these research studies that are already existing. So you don't have to do anything. So the original instruments already having the reliability and validity. So this is an easy process for you. Just adopt and apply. But instrument that has been adopted, we take an example, sometimes that validity and reliability will be changing, and that evidence will not apply. That when you integrate also, that one, it doesn't have any much impact. So when an instrument has been adapted, it has been significantly changed. That means you touched the psychometry property of that items. The items, little modifications you have done. Take an example, a study conducted in a manufacturing unit. You are putting the same items in a logistic industry, so you have to change little bit of what you would say, the terms used, so that it will be personalized into a kind of logistics industry. So sometimes you are using in service sector, the same thing can be used in manufacturing. We are not sure about it. So that particular time we have to adapt the instruments from service to manufacturing, or manufacturing to logistics, logistics to entertainment, entertainment to education. Likewise, we need to adapt it. So different. So I'm going to explain to you in detail that. So adapting an instruments requires substantial changes. Items means that the question, you can touch it. You can touch it and you can modify it in accordance with, because the time you're touching, it has lost its authenticity. Always remember, it has changed its form. So in that situation, the researcher follows the general design and adds or reduce the number of items, substantially change the psychometry property, because we need to really customize that particular construct to that particular location. So it is important that researcher understand the key principles of developing an instrument, which will be described, that I'm going to describe in the next step example. When adapting an instrument, the researcher should report the same information in the instrument section. Take an example. Chapter number 3, when you are writing, there is a portion called as measurements. In the measurement section, you have to write which construct, who is the author of that construct, or multiple authors you have selected. How many items from first author, how many items from the second author, how many items from the third author, you have to mention. First author, 5 items, this is exactly the reliability. Second author, this many items, this is the reliability. Third item, this much. So total, if 10 items are available to you, you have 2 to 6, 3 authors. You need to get reliability scores of each item inside your instrument and the total score also. I'm going to explain to that. So it's complicated one, but this is most suitable one to your, what you would say, study based, in the sense that localized scenario. So sample description of an instrument, I'm going to take you to this example.
This study adopted the factors influencing teaching choice, FIT. Giving an example, FIT scale. This instrument was developed by Watt and Richardson. Validity evidence was provided by the factor analysis and the longitudinal relationship of factors influencing teaching to subsequent engagement in teaching profession. They're trying to look at the fit, the choice, teacher's choice, fit analysis exactly. So the purpose of FIT choice is to determine the factors that pre-service teachers identify as being most influential, and that is connected with the teaching profession. So the FIT choice scale was the only slight, that means little bit modified to fit the, you are doing this study in the Nigerian context. So you cannot take the same term and apply that in the Nigerian context because people cannot understand it, the items being said, the questions. So you need to a little bit modify it. So all factors identical to the original fit except 2 questions. Let us have an idea which are these 2 questions which is not suitable to this instrument. All right. So Cobb has explained to you one question: teaching will be useful. It will be a useful job for me to have when traveling. Is it right to Nigerian people? We are not sure about it. Teaching is not for a traveling person. This is not suitable to Nigerian. They are exactly thinking how to, survival is most important thing rather than traveling for these people, right? So psychometry property is not matching up to that. Second, this factor not applicable to Nigerian pre-service teachers. Second, it's also teaching will allow me to work other jobs also. Means that it's a passive profession. It's not a passionate profession. When they do that also, after doing some lectures, they go for other jobs and likewise. And this is not. A teacher in the Nigeria, they focus the teaching and they will be there in the school continuously till 8 to 9 hours or 10 hours and they're contributing. So these 2 items are not suitable, cannot use it. So always remember, when you get a 10 item, it doesn't mean that all items you can use it. You have to check it in accordance with the location. In accordance with the location. So teaching will allow me to collect a salary by doing little work. When teaching, I can use students for gaining money. All these things also issues. All right, that you can. So the instrument was developed for university students. So your sample is primary pupil. So the language of the instrument is too advanced for your sample also sometime. So you look at the sentences in each item and think about it, whether it is digestible to the students. Take an example, you're doing entrepreneurship studies and you're doing it in this university. Actually, that instrument should be used for, that means real entrepreneurs. And you're using it in university. Is it suitable? It's not suitable, but maybe some items suitable that you have to check it. So that's the purpose. Pilot testing, pre-testing, all these things are important. When you do adoption or adaptation, you need to be very careful. These kind of discrepancies are happening. So the instrument then need to be adapted to the context. So you need to do some sort of that means paraphrasing or rephrasing and likewise. So adaptation, the manifestation of the variable may be different, may differ between the group instruments. And for example, a researcher might be interested in mothers' attention to their infants. For example, in a Western culture where the instruments was likely developed, motherly attention, the variable is motherly attention, manifested in the form of a mother spending time playing with toys and their infant. But in Nigeria, motherly attention might be sleeping with an infant in the same bed. So the psychometry property, a West person is thinking and an East person is thinking totally different, or an African is thinking and an Islamite person is thinking is totally different. So you need to be very clear on the context with which you are applying the items. That's what many times you're not getting proper response. So in a Western culture, mothers typically put their infants to bed in a different room. Separation happening from the very beginning. But this is not the case. The mother is closely connected with the kid exactly, till up to the standpoint of independence, right? Indian scenario, Islam scenario, I'm sure about it. These kind of mothers are near to the kid totally, and they never separate the kids. And they're carrying the kids not in the bed, but in the heart itself. They're closely attached. So that kind of psychometric property, if you cannot fix it, it's difficult for you to get the right response from the respondents. So an existing instrument developed in the Western culture, you would be adapting the same thing to the Nigerian. The same thing is applicable to any scenario. This we call adaptation. So here I'm going to give you one example on safety performance. I'm going to now clearly, this is all sociological, psychological variables I'm handling. Now I'm connecting to the business variable. So one connecting to the safety performance. Safety performance, there is no instruments available, single instrument available. So that particular time, we need to get the items. What are items? Questions from different authors. You have to adapt. First of all, you have to build up the construct. How many? Take an example. I told you service quality, tangibility, assurance, empathy, responsiveness, reliability. All 5 factors. You need to get items. All right. The same thing is applicable here. To measure the safety performance, there are 14 items. 14 items. So these 14 items are coming from Clark and Ward, Neal and Griffin, Prof and Brubaker. These are the authors exactly contributed. You built up it. That's what we call construction of instrument. You constructed it. There is a concept available, safety performance, but you constructed it, and it will be changing from authors to authors. It's okay. No problem at all. You don't have to simply follow others. All right. You can follow your own freedom with the support of literature review. No issues at all. You have evidence to prove it. So this, how it is connected then. This is the next thing coming up. All right. So when you connect with operational, so it is not detentions, definitions. The extent to which the employees, the organization shows their motivation to engage in a safety activities and show a behavior complies. So there is a behavioral compliance. There is a word called behavioral compliance. Another is motivation. That means a participation is coming through motivation only. So there is a participation element and there is a compliance element. 2 elements. When you look at the operational definition, this is the difference between a conceptual definition and an operational definition. A conceptual definition will help you to understand things, but an operational definition will support you to measure it. Support you to measure that concept. So we need to clearly connect our operational definitions with the items we are incorporating. Got it? So it's not coming from one author. It is coming from different authors, and you're building up this operational definition because you have to operate your thesis, not others' thesis. So this particular safety performance, when you look at it, you can see here, safety participation is the first one. It is purely connected with operational definition. So the first scale, 9 items are incorporated. 9, total 14 items. 9 items are coming from safety participation. So like with some example, like I voluntarily carry out task activities that help to improve the workplace safety. This is one item. In this project, people work safely even when immediate supervisor is not. This is a kind of participation element. All right. But on the other side, there is another variable called safety performance. This is connected, is compliance part. First is participation part. Second is, so safety participation plus safety compliance leading to safety performance. This is the way you need to understand. So you can, how you got all these things? You get all these things through literature review. So if you don't do the literature review properly, you don't get this idea how I can build up a construct. Got it? So the first phase of any instrument development process is exploration. That's what I use the term exploration. Once you explore, you get all the variable and you look at how many people have used the similar kind of terms continuously across the globe. That is giving you a supporting evidence. This variable I can select, this variable I can reject, and likewise you don't have basically any right to reject anything or any right to accept anything by yourself. This is subjectivity, complete subjectivity. You should not do that. So you need to have a literature matrix and then tell to the supervisor, sir, I got this literature matrix in which majority people that have measured safety performance with safety compliance and safety participation. Hence, I can use this. There is a logic in it. There is a justification in it. So everything to be justified in research. So you can use this safety participation and safety compliance. Second, 5 items from safety compliance, 9 items from safety participation. So total 14 is ready. Look how it is coming up now. How it is beautifully coming up. That is, you can see over here, safety participation and around 9 items coming from Clark, Ward, and Neal. And the next one, another 5 items are coming from Probst and Brubaker. So total 14 items available. I have adapted, not adopted. Why it is adapted? Not from single author. I've taken items from different authors and I built up a construct by myself. You can do that. You can do that. This is not development, almost in the same of development, but you can call it, I built up an instrument, I constructed an instrument exactly. Item construction, all right? You item adapted here. So finally, when you look upon a single table, this is the way you have to project in your thesis. Safety performance is a total variable. This is the macro variable, all right? So under which it is coming into safety participation and safety compliance. So how many items under safety participation? 9 items. How many under safety compliance? 5. So these two together we call this one. So these together we are measuring safety performance. And which scale I am going to use? 5-point scale. And how many the Cronbach alpha? That is validity. I'm getting 9 items 0.8, 5 items 0.7, and cutoff point based on Nunali, it is 0.6 and above, and I satisfied the criteria. 0.6 and above, any score coming in Cronbach alpha, it is acceptable. Hence, even I am not telling this one, Nunali, amazing statistician has mentioned it, so you can take it that and fix it. So these items I am taking from here, and these items I'm taking from here. Can you see the clarity of what are you talking about? You see the clarity. When you talk as supervisor, you are very clear what are you talking about. When you just write some sentences and talk to your supervisor, they will scold you back. They don't want to scold you because you have not basically didn't do proper homework. This is because of that they are scolding you. All right. So you need to go through this scaling and then only you are supposed to talk about something. All right. This is one example. And I'm going to take second example. Competitive environment. You have to measure a concept called as competitive environment. So it is measured by Kandwala and Woos, 7 items, total 7 items. The present study chooses 2 measurements from separate study, minimum 5. That means minimum, at least we expect around 5 questions to be there for any analysis. PLS and likewise at least 3. All right. So Woos and Woos developed 3 items. Thus, to achieve satisfactory results, this study also include items developed from Canva. So, sometime one instrument, maybe 3 only available, with which you won't be able to explore that complex phenomenon properly. So, you need to add more number from different authors. That's we call adaptation. That we call adaptation. So, you have to develop an instrument through adaptation, but you need to first of all get, when you adapt, the conceptual definition is changing, you need to have a separate operational definition connecting these 2 authors. So the dynamic external system in which business competes and function as a result affects lifespan of growth of any organization is exactly the competitive environment we are talking about. So when you look up this definition, you can see the competitive, and the variable is competitive environment. Dimensions, competitive single only, there is no multiple one. So there is an operational definition coming up. And how many items? This many items you are posing. And this one you have taken from Woos and Woos, and this one you have taken from Kandwala. Very clear, systematically. It's not complete now. Now you pose the items. Now you connect with the scale. Items plus scale, which we call it as measurements or instruments, right? So competitive advantage consists of competitive activities and competitive products. Competitive activities consist of 3 items. Competitive products consist of 4 items, and it will be leading to 7-point scale integration. This is item plus scale, item plus scale connected to the reliability. Is it reliable or not? This is my question. So original instrument is getting this one. It may not be suitable to your context. Now you have to do a pilot testing. Then only it will be fixed. Originally fixed, but it is not fixed in your locale. You have to do. So we are very clear about the authors of the construct. Alpha, reliability of the constructs, scales I'm going to use it, items I'm going to use it, number of items, is it adequate or not, adequacy, item adequacy, part of reliability, and then how many constructs inside, sub constructs, everything very clear. Look at the beauty of it, everything adapted. I hope you understood this adaptation now. Now I am going to tell you about adoption. This is very simple. Second, adopting an instrument links your study to all other stuff. Use the same instrument. You don't have to do anything because reliability, validity, everything is already available. So adopting an instrument is quite simple in comparison with adapting. Adapting, but is more beautiful and more reliable in comparison with adoption. Why? Because you have just adopted. Maybe it is not applicable to your context, right? So even when an instrument is adopted, true, though there might be some modifications needed. So take an example, intrinsic motivation inventory that measures intrinsic motivation needs to be slightly modified to reflect the specific situation that researcher is interested in. So it's not a general variable like specific activities to be added. So many times the specific activity of Islamabad region may be different from the specific activity of Malaysian region. So sometimes adoption turned to be a wrong aspect. So you should be very careful. For example, an item on the intrinsic motivation, I enjoy doing this activity. Look how much vague this item. What activity you're talking about? Where is that specificity? So you cannot go with that instrument. You cannot go with that item. That activity you need to convert, maybe mathematical activity, maybe computer activity, maybe a social exchange activity. So you should be specific, otherwise you are confusing your respondents. So that's what we are telling. Some sort of adoption can turn to be a problem to you. So go for adoption many times. That will be much valid. So adopted description, that means you have to talk about who developed the instrument, who validated the instrument, and other studies, how much validation scores obtained, validity and reliability scores they got it, that you have to explain. For example, that means, this is the example I'm giving you, PNA, that means, what you would say, positive and negative affect scale. So PANAS, West, that means West, the promoted by Watson, Clerk, and Telegram. It's very old one, still it is amazing instrument going now. So it consists of two parts. One is positive part, another is negative. Positive effect has been found to be related to the social activity, and negative effect has been found to be related to the fluctuations in the stress. So operational definition is very clear. All right. Now PANAS has been used to assess the effect in others. So if you miss this negative activity, you have to be very clear on which activity you are posing. If you are applying that in students level or university level or any kind of corporate level, you need to be very clear on what kind of variable or inside the activity you are using. Otherwise, your instrument can be misled or misinterpreted. So here is the issue. So another one, I can show you example of high performance work system. So you can select directly from some authors like Hackman and Oldham. You can directly use that instrument. You don't have to do anything. You look at here, HPW, high performance work system. Job, it consists of job enrichment. So you defined it, what it is, and you have number of items. And you look at it also, second example, government support. You look at this external government, you can easily get the operational definition and number of items and whose exactly it is coming out of the picture. So when you look about these terms, adoption means you are not going to change anything. Just take the original instrument's reliability and validity, and you can move it, because that will be. But if you ask me which one is most important in you, I don't suggest you to adopt anything. I don't suggest you to adopt anything. You should go for adaptation. Why? Because the instruments coming from the West having the constructs which may not suitable to the locale of you. So better you need to index. Take an example, Super's value. It is called as Super's 1972 one instrument is called as value expectancy behavior. It consists of 18 subconstructs, 18 subconstructs. But when it comes to India, Dr. Uday Parekh, he is an IIM professor. He told, no, this is not sufficient enough to apply in India. You have to add another 3 more variables inside. So it made it as 21 attributes. These 21 attributes is necessary to measure Indians' value expectancy behavior. So it's the same way, it may be connected to Pakistan. So maybe indigenized variable we need to incorporate and make a study. And this is impossible in the case of adoption. You got it? So adaptation is much better in comparison. And the last but not least stage, which is very tough stage, I'm going to explain to you, which will be going a bit fast. I know that I took around 1 hour, 30 minutes. I crossed the limit. Still, I'll be negotiating with Dr. Haider to move on at least little bit. It is very, very important thing you need to know. How to develop an instrument. This is totally different from adaptation and adoption. Okay, so we are going towards an example, technology disruption impact on organizational health. Purely connected to business, but it is amazing instrument. This is one of my student has done it in Malaysia when I was guiding my PhDs, and likewise, actually he wants to start the study fully into mixed method research. You know that I'm a professor of mixed method. So I suggested as one of my first student go with mixed method and likewise. So he started this process and he was a general manager, HR of Maxis in Malaysia that particular time. And he completed in 2016. Still, I'm showing you that example. So the frame, you look at the frame exactly here. Technology disruptions leading to organizational health. Take an example, 2G to 3G to 4G to 5G to disruption is happening continuously, right? But there is no problem with the disruption. Problem is innovation capacity of the existing units and the absorptive capacity connecting to competence of the people inside the organization. You can absorb, you can talk too much, what you would say, industry 4.0, now it is 5, industry 5.0 and likewise. But have you ever think about the absorptive capacity of the existing organization in our country? Never. We never talk about the innovation capacity, resources and capabilities, talk about the RBB theory. Is it true with us? We are not talking reality. We are talking only application of the theories a lot. All right. So competence adequacy is an important aspect. Competence building is another, training and development is another aspect. Innovation capacity is another thing. And if these three are coming in between, whatever the technology disruption you talk about, health is totally altered. The health will be altered even when best of technology you bring down. If the capacity building is not happening, if innovation things are not supported by the organization top management and competency building is not doing, it's going to impact. So what I did was, this is a study all connected with, or you look at here, you can see this is a construct I'm going to build up. These are all available to me to measure, but I don't have a measurement of this one. But I got a frame. I got a conceptual frame. And I don't have any idea how to measure it because everything I got it, but the reality is I want to check the health of the organization. What is health of the organization? Business performance, basically. We talk about business performance, but I want to introduce this concept of organizational health. People talk about physical health a lot of companies, but I'm talking about business health. So this is most important thing. A new construct, I got it. I don't know how to measure it. I don't know how to measure it. This is exactly the purpose. I want to show you how to develop an instrument. So I developed some questions. And I asked the questions I want to develop, remember, I want to develop OH. Conceptual clarity is not there, then how I can measure it? Impossible. First, I have to build up the conceptual definition properly. I want to understand the small concept, sub-concept connected with a major concept. So if I measure, if I ask this question to this, I ask the students to ask these questions to all the HR heads. From the human resource perspective, simple research question, that's what I told you, exploration. This is a stage of exploration. I don't have any idea about any health issue, anything about I'm in the complete zero state. Remember, I'm in a zero state. And I'm going to ask this question. Take an example. There is a recent fall of Nokia, Motorola, and BlackBerry. So what are the reasons? So they talked about a lot of issues. Like, look, they talked about technology changes, competence depletion, deterioration of organizational health, innovation capacity, collective competence issues, deficiency issues, lack of anticipation, disruption in technology, inappropriate investment. These are all coming from interviews. It's not, of course, it is little available from literature, but it's not. It's directly coming. This is hot data. This we call hot data. That is already cold data. It's already published data. It is under the freezer. Already you can get it from any point of time. This is hot data, and so talked by the human resource manager and the senior human resource managers in the company. I got this many words. Second question I asked, according to you, from the human resource perspective, what are the major challenges facing the telecommunity? I'm putting now into context. I'm not talking about manufacturing. I'm not talking about different service sector. I'm talking only about telecom industry in India. Got it? So the competence, another words have come. So many words come. Competence deficiency, frequency in the technology, lot of regulators issues, policy issues, lot of things. Because of that, they couldn't perform. And the third interview, do you observe any organizational health problems in Telecom India? Another question, very generic question, very high level macro questions, not even micro level I'm asking, because I don't know anything to ask specific questions to the company people. How I can ask to the specific type of items? I cannot generate it. So my purpose is to develop the small items. So I have to ask the big questions first. Then I go down to the sub concepts and the attributes. So a lot of words I'm getting from the extracts, interview extracts. So you do the interview process, and day by day, every day data collection, every day data analysis in quality. In quality, every day data collection, every day data analysis and extraction of the data. You got it? This is the beauty of qualitative research. And do you, this also you got it. Now, question number, according to you, what are the antecedents of competence deficiency, and likewise, we are checking it. That means it will be definitely diluted in accordance with those. Finally, question number 4, what remedies do you suggest to address health problems of telecom? They got so many variables. Look at anticipate competence requirements. All the variables you have seen in that model is coming from the interview, not from anywhere. Not even the secondary literature I'm talking about. It's all coming from the mouth of human resource managers and leading top level managers in the company. And the interview extracts going on. After getting all these interview extracts, you put the second method. First is interview. Interview is not a method, it is a tool. It is a tool to collect the data. But Delphi is a method. See here, what are you trying? You develop a few questions and give all these variables to these experts. Whatever the thing you segregated, get around 30-40 experts, give it to them. Let them decide, not by you. Still, you are ensuring objectivity now. If you get yourself, if you use yourself, and if you interpret everything is subjective, nobody going to follow you. You cannot build up that instrument. So what you have to do, get experts to get objective response. And you are asking, in your opinion, these are the words I got it. Can you segregate it? What, according to you, are the fitting dimensions of OH? How do you define competence adequacy? Which are the latent dimensions? This is another way. I'm talking only about OH. So Delphi evaluations, you are asking so many questions connected with that. So many questions, and you will be getting proper concepts. So all the constructs which we have built up through this conceptual frame is coming from the primary data. Then only you are looking on secondary level. So list of experts, you look upon that. Aircell, Ericsson, US Software Group. So which position they are holding and which industry they belong to, which gender. I ensure that gender balance. Don't go with male salon. Don't go with, because their perception towards OH is different totally. How a female is considering an OH is different from the OH concept of a male. So you need to get gender balance. So if everybody, you got the concept, okay, look at this next company, Reliance, Airtel, Vodafone, all right, Idea. Then coming into different Tata teleservices and Ericsson, whatever, lot of companies, all are into high level, top level managers we have interviewed. This is the process I shown you, interaction, the expert interactions and likewise. And here we get appropriate data related to organization health and different. So once you get all these terms, they have stipulated, you go to literature review now. This is a stage, now you have to open your fridge and get all the cold storage things, already published things. Okay, you got here, you got a word, the best word selected by the expert, change capacity, competitive advantage, and goal alignment. These three are coming from OH. Competence adequacy, another term which is coming. These three selected by the experts, and this technology description selected by these people. And I'm not telling only these people selected experts. It's also supported by proper theoretical and modeling. It is coming. This change capacity coming from McKinsey and Company. Competitive advantage coming from Barney. You know that RBB theory and likewise. It is, that means capability and resources leading to competitive advantage, leading to business performance. This is theory available. Kaplan, Norton, you know that, balanced scorecard and all kinds of goal alignment. So I'm just talking about this one, and it is supported by theory. It's not just getting the construct is important, to be supported by theorization and the models. Then only you can go for instrumentation. All right, all those concepts in that frame, which I have shown to you, I got a proper literature support. Means that I started from exploration and I ended up with explanation. You got it? I started with exploration and then explained to you with proper theory. Why theory? Why this model? It consists of proper, take an example, this is the theory. This is the theory. You fix your model on the top of the theory, so it won't shake. It is supported fully. Your frame is fully supported by theorizers, complete theorizers. Nobody can point any finger against you. This is the way of developing instruments. Got it? Everywhere you get the proper orders. Go towards next. All right? You can see that. You can see. All right? Any other theory, you get all these aspects. You got the theories and likewise. So why we need a new instrument? This is the first question. OH, this is the logic you have to tell in the thesis. See, OH, some instruments may be available. You are telling this is not suitable. That's what I am developing. Otherwise, no logic at all. Organizational climate instruments are available. Why are you developing a new instrument? Organizational culture instrument available. Why are you developing a new instrument? No, it required. Octapace available. OCTPACE, Octapace available. All right, openness, confrontation, lot of expansion of these things possible. So if instrument is existing, you don't have to. If instrument is not existing or not suitable, you are telling, take an example, 2 instruments available in OH. The one instrument is OH, that is OHRI reported by FIORLE, and that talks only on certain aspects. All right, the other one, while the other ones, the second one exactly talking about, it is also talking about the overall measure of physical well-being of a company alone or employee. This is not suitable. I'm talking about business performance. OH, the concept is connected with the 3 factors. One is change capacity, another is competitive advantage, and the third factor is goal alignment. These are the 3 sub-construct of the construct of OH. Got it? So I'm not interested in these kind of measurements. Okay. So McKinsey's OHI instrument is available, but empirical validity is impossible because it's not based on a scale. They built up some items, but it doesn't have any scale. So a scale-based items not available. Your logic is very clear now. You're putting across to the jury that no, even though items are available, but scales are not introduced. I am the first person going to introduce the scale with items, and I'm going to develop. Please permit me to do that exercise. They will allow you to do that because you got the models, 7S models, and you got the concept clear, items clear, everything. Now you have to test it alone. Got it? So these instruments did not fit into the measurements required, hence because I want to develop a new instrument. You got it? You're very clear. So you need to do face validity first. Get that all items ready and give it to your friends or professors and likewise. Then after that, you can go towards content validity. This particular time, be careful. This only should be given to the experts. The first one, face validity, it is so only. They will tell you, okay, this instrument, okay, scales available, 7-point scale, items, okay. Your friends will be telling, okay, go ahead, but don't believe in them. Most important thing is content validity. It should be supported by professionals from industry. It should be supported by consultants. It should be supported by the professors in the same domain or from different countries also, if possible, and get their lack of congruence on this content and then correct it properly, simplify it in accordance with Islamabad region or Karachi region or in Rawalpindi region or in different regions where everywhere you can apply that particular locality. You need the content to be permuted or once again rephrased. This is called content validity. Okay, so after this content validity assignment, all right, you have to go towards, I'm just showing you this because of the time limit. And you are looking on what is the dimension under. OH is the dimension. Always remember, OH is organization health is the major construct. Under that construct, 3 aspects you are going to measure. One is change capacity, and another one is competitive advantage, and the other one is goal alignment. These three together we call it as what? Organizational health. Organizational health. So you look at the literature review now. Already you got it from interviews and likewise. At the same time, you also look at the words selected by the Delphi. After Delphi, the experts, which are the words selected by these experts, and based on that, take an example. If you have 32 number of experts available to get which are the words more suitable to this concept. Take an example. This is change capacity. Under the change capacity, this many words are coming. This many words are coming. So it's very difficult to measure all these things. So that's what we are going to the experts. Delphi process we are doing. Round number 1, round number 2, round number 3, and they reduce, and the best of the words will be selected. So you, how many words they will be telling? Take an example. Out of these 30 experts, 32 experts, 26 experts supported, but that is 81%. You look here, only 5 people supported. So this one we cannot accept. You look at here, job security, it is not accepted. So that we have dropped out. That we have dropped. Here, this also we have dropped out. So some of the words like concern for well-being, then personal health, job security, working condition. This we will drop from change capacity. This is the modification you are doing. This is your contribution. Out of this, based on the expert opinion, I have selected only this many number of sub-constructs. Okay. Then coming competitive advantage. Same thing applicable here. Total words given to these Delphi people, experts, they selected. Take an example. Resource allocation is not an important thing. They dropped it 19% only. But majority people supported what you would say business measures, right skills exactly connected with that. They also talked about what you would say resource and tools or team contributions. These words they have selected. So some of them we dropped it. And the third is connected with goal alignment. So here, Kaplan and Nortel model, we got, take an example, you know that customer, finance, operations, and internal capability, balanced scorecard models, and likewise, we can understand that. So these parameters out which how many words are suggested by these experts, interview extracts available, and finally, that should be reduced by the experts. Okay, and you get it, you only taken out only one dropped out. So you look now, all items connected with each sub-construct, we are developing the items now. These items are coming from literature review. It's not coming from Delphi people. It's not coming from any experts. It's not coming from anywhere. It should come from literature review. Got it? So you got total, you look around this many items in the second category. This is categories based one. And finally, this many total number of items with which we have built up this much. And now, this is the time you have to go for analysis. So this is exactly connected with organizational health. This is the major construct. Will be this particular time you are going for a kind of validity and reliability analysis. All right, I'm not going very deep. If I would have time, I would have explained to you how to do it, how to make each item, what are the scores to be looked upon, and how a construct-based differentiation is happening, how the item-based discrimination is. I could have explained to you, but in general, I'll tell you that there is a construct we are developing a new construct, and in which sub-constructs 1, OH1, what is this? Change capacity. What is OH2? It is competitive advantage. What is OH3? It is connected to goal alignment. So these three together, we call it as, and this is the way we are going to measure. We are not going to measure this. We are going to measure these three. And all together, we call it as OH. Got it? So this consists of how many items? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 items. 7 items here. Look at here. How many items? This is goal alignment, OH3. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Look at 12 items here, around 9 items here, and how many items here on the downside exactly? When you look upon that, you can see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 items. So 10 plus 9 plus 12 or something, this many number of items are to be developed to measure a new concept called as OH. So this is most important aspect. So here you have to look at the unidimensionality and interreliability test, and likewise. So here you have to look at the exploratory factor analysis, EFA. Why? Because EFA, why CFA is not suitable? CFA is suitable, confirmatory factor analysis is useful only in adoption of instruments. But if it is adaptation, you are exploring. Adaptation is exploration. Adoption is explanation. Already explained. You don't have to do. You just confirm it in the Islamabad region. It is applicable. You just confirm it. That's all. That is confirmatory analysis. But the other one, which you are doing in adaptation, the way we have done it through building up through different construct and integrated and make it as a core concept. That particular, it's almost like an adaptation. There you have to do exploratory factor analysis, EFA. This difference you need to know it. All right. So do unidimensionality assessment, internal reliability analysis. Here we are doing exploratory factor analysis, and this we are using usually in PLS, and likewise we are making use of average variance extraction and threshold of 0.5. This is suggested by, and you might have learned all these things the past. What do you say? Haider might have given amazing sessions from Ramaya sir. So the composite reliability and EFA at the same time. AVE and composite reliability are the major aspects we are looking upon through PLS, and we want to fix it. And this is the way. Look at the way I'm going to explain to you. AVE and composite reliability are the two aspects you have to look into. So every item you're getting, it should be the threshold point, and likewise you have to just corroborate it, cross-validate it. That's only you have to do. Everything will be done by the software. So look at here. First of all, you are getting, this is validity, factor loading, you are getting clearly 0.5 and above. All right, you're getting, and you're getting a Cronbach alpha. At the same time, you're getting average variance extraction. This is also cutoff point and above, and here also composite reliability, that also cutoff point and above. Hence, all these items pass the test. You can use it. You can use it. Second one, look at competitive. So I told you three sub-constructs are available. What are the three concepts? Change capacity, competitive advantage, and goal alignment. Together we call it as OH, organization health. So second is competitive advantage. It also consists of this many items, and this all pass the factor loading 0.5 and above. Here also 0.9. It is above 0.6 and above. It's also cutoff point and above, everything satisfied. Second construct also passed. Now the third one, goal alignment. It also consists of this many items. Where it is coming? It is coming from the words of interview. It is coming from Delphi, and it is coming from literature review. All the three, once you complete only, you can get into this stage. Got it? That's what I told you. It's very tough process. It takes around 3 to 4 years duration. Completely takes it. That's what a PhD thesis is coming. Full thesis instrument development is coming. I don't suggest you to do that for any PG programs and undergraduate programs. Don't do it. You don't get the time and you'll be frustrated a lot. So this is exactly the final thing. Look at, now the confirmation is happening. We need to confirm. So EFA produced 3 factors, that above lower threshold of eigenvalue also, factor loading, all these things, scores you have to provide. And the construct proved reliable with the factor loading 0.6 and above, that also mentioned too. So you can also have a screen plot here, clear-cut screen plot, you can check it whether it is applicable. But the most important thing you have to look at is discriminant validity and convergent validity. These are the 2 validities you have to look at it. All the items individually can get the response also. All the items together in different contexts can individually perform also. This we call it as convergent validity and discriminant validity. Discriminant validity is connected with the construct together, all the items together. So there should not be any correlation. If it is near to 0 level, it is quite good. So there is, take an example, self-esteem and self-esteem and self-reliance, almost similar variables. If the items of self-reliance not differentiated from items of self-esteem, then there is a clash. We call it cascading effect. So one variable cascade the effect of the other, confounding impact is coming up. Hence, because Every construct should be separated, clear. Take an example. If I am Professor Dileep, Haider is a different person. We are totally different, two people, two personality, two psychometry property, two different heights, complexion, costumes, everything different. That's called discriminant validity. So in your model, different constructs are available. It should be clearly, distinctively separated from each. That's called discriminant validity. All right. So the discriminant validity is achieved when the correlation values of the construct, that is 0 to 0.2, 0.21 to 4, 0.41 to 6, 0.61 to 8, and 0.81 to 1, 0 to 1. That variations, you check the scores, and if you get it proper one, okay, you can accept it. And look at the ABE cutoff also. These are the things. So we make use of this table to understand whether the cutoff point clarified or not, and likewise we check it properly. You can see over here on the top, everything is above the point, it is accepted. And if you go through confirmatory factors, this is connected to AMOS, and likewise you can look into absolute fit, incremental fit, and parsimonial fits, and likewise you can also look into this diagram. After that, you have to do it. This we call it as measurement model analysis in PLS. You might have gone ahead this. So you look at here, you got OH, and this is change capacity, and this is competitive advantage, and this is goal alignment, and all these are items, and all these are items, how much error it is happened. And this is most important thing, how much exactly the score is coming into picture, and how much it is connected. This score also to be checked, and all the items, everything. So how many items we dropped it, how many items we accepted it, everything is coming into the picture. So you get a p-value, you get Ramsey, you get what do you say, CFI scores, and all these scores. This is extra session required to explain all this, is because cutoff points are there. You don't have any problem, just look at the cutoff point. You are getting above that or something that you have to, that means critical region coming or outside, that only you have to look at it, you'll be getting that. So measurement model of OH, CFA. Okay, you can see that 0.6 and above, everything is cut off. All these things we have ensured, all the three items, OH1, OH2, and OH3, we have clearly mentioned over here. And you'll be getting an idea about it, this absolute fit, incremental fit, and parsimonial fit. So we are getting actual index, and likewise you'll be getting, and cutoff points, everything is clear now. Now we are going towards the finalization of the instruments. So the most important aspect is, have you gone through the exploration stage, explained it to the Delphi people, and finally selection of those items, did it through proper literature review, and gone through pilot testing with the support of either AMOS or it is PLS, it's up to you, or even SPSS, I don't have any problem. And then connected to this proper validity, that means AV scores as well as composite reliability checked or not, then only an instrument tend to be developed. That means a new concept where the sub variables are not available to you. That particular time only you are supposed to take development steps. Otherwise, either adaptation or go with adoption. That's all. Thank you. Now, Haider, you can open the platform for any kind of question.
Yeah. Wow, Professor Dr. Dileep, what a superb explanation you have given, what the knowledge you possess. I'm really astonished to see the way you were explaining the things. Your slides were so wonderful, the content was so wonderful, and I love the way you started it from the standardized instrument, the reliability and the validity, and then the item and the item analysis. And I love the way you were actually teaching the different things that you have to learn through literature review. You don't need to speak like an ordinary person, you need to speak like a researcher, and the research tone, and you have to practice it, and so many things. And I can imagine how wonderful it would be to sit in your class and to take classes from you, and to particularly to learn the course of research methodology from you, because you are just like the ocean of the knowledge, because everything was coming out of your mind, and everything, you were so engaged in explaining the things that you even didn't drink the water. And as I was engaged in your because I have gone through the whole PhD, this process, and everything you were saying was reminding me the different phases of my PhD in University of Malaya. It was so hectic days. I would say that it was so wonderful days as well, because we enjoyed as well. But the way you were explaining the things, I just everything was just like a recap in my mind. And then you explained with wonderful examples. That is the beauty of the real expert. They explain whatever they say by the examples, and you have given a wonderful examples. And most of the time I was Prof, we learn so many things with a very difficult way by reading through literature and different books, and you have quoted it multiple times, like for example, we must have at least three items. So this is what we learned from the here at all, from the book, that yes, at least you should have three items or one construct to measure. And you have included multiple times in your presentation that during the smart PLS analysis how much is required and so many things. And Prof, you would be astonished to see that 90% of questions you have already addressed in your presentation because
Thank you.
these were the concerns. So really superb presentation, superb explanation, and what a clarity you have established. So nice, so wonderful, Prof. But
Thank you.
you are the academic leader. We follow you, and your work is amazing. People want to have your opinion on something because whatever you say impact a lot. So they need your guidance regarding certain
Sure.
questions. Yeah.
Definitely.
So I'm starting with the first question. The first question, there's a PhD student, and they want to ask that, Prof, I'm the beginner in PhD and in proposal stage. Please guide me. Can I change the Likert scale from 7 point to 5 point? If yes, what I need to consider? Yes, please.
The first question is if it is already existing scales available and their originality is already tested, there is no problem at all changing the instruments. But the problem is the time you're touching that particular scale, moving from 5 point to 7 point, and likewise, it's already gone towards what you would say adaptation. So that particular time you have to do proper exploratory factor analysis.
Okay.
You can do that, no problem. Only thing is that you get original, what is the reliability and validity, that you have to check it. And once you move towards this one, usually we follow the same kind of scales itself. And if that's not possible, and there should be a logic, you need to have a logic why we have to change from 5 point scale to 7. What is the logic behind it? So that you have to explain properly, then only you can change it. Otherwise, don't change it. You can move with that. But the problem, certain type of scales like ordinal scales, 5 point scales, and likewise, we cannot use regression analysis and likewise. So take an example, if it is ANOVA or some sort of t-test, all these things, it's okay. But we'll be moving towards prediction and likewise, then we need to have a 7 point scale, some sort of justification to be there, and you can move, definitely follow EF.
Oh, very
Don't
nicely
follow
said.
CF.
Yeah, thank you so much. And you have explained it in a very wonderful way that what they can do and how can they do it. Prof, another question we have from the MPhil student, the master students. They want to ask about that. Is it necessary to avail permission to adopt or adapt measurement instrument when you use instruments to developed by other authors? So is it necessary for them to get the permission? Yes, please.
Usually, if it is you're going to fully, usually it is a kind of ethical stand. And to take an example, I have developed an instrument of, I don't know whether I can show it to you, but you can just search ILI, intention to leave instrument. Another instrument is intention to stay instrument. Just Google it out, you will get put my name. And all the process of developing that I having. So the question here in this context is, when you have to use, so it's a so pleasurable moment for me to understand that somebody is using my instrument. And you're also, if you talk to me, if you have in any point of time, if you have any clarifications connected with these instruments, that particular person will be definitely supporting you back. because it's their instrument, they are going to use it. This is most important. So I may suggest, if there is a possibility, get permission from, and if it is too far, at least you acknowledge that person in your thesis properly. That's all to be done.
Oh, very nicely said, Prof. And this is what we used to do, that we had to email to the authors for their
Correct.
permission. And similarly, what you have referred is the same thing, as our seniors, they advised us that please acknowledge them and their work,
True.
and
That's
because
true.
you are utilizing it. So very nicely you have mentioned it. Thank you very much. Another question, Prof, is a bit kind of technical for the students, since you are an expert in analysis as well. Their question is that, Prof, sometimes there are various benchmarks for reliability and validity in literature. For example, like the Cronbach alpha, some say 7.1 is the minimum benchmark, some say 6.8, and likewise the factor loading, some says below 5 is not acceptable, some says 4.5 in some cases are enough. So please guide us which literature we should follow and why. Yes, please.
I'll give you one example. When I was in UUM, University of Malaysia, that particular time I have attended a student like you, a student proposal defense. That particular time, Professor Chandrakant and Subramaniam, some sort of big giants of quantitative research already there, and I was one of the panel member. And the student got a particular variable construct having 0.489. That means the factor loading 0.5 and above is the cutoff point. So that student, a few of the items got 0.47, 0.489, something like that. It didn't touch 0.5. But this Dr. Chandrakanthan Subramaniam, he's an expert in quantity, professor, and he fought with the student and told, no, this is not acceptable, you have to take it out. And the student told, I'm not going to take it out. This is exactly defending your ideas. You need to have the will to defend. How? As a student, you cannot do that. The most important aspect is get the literature, get the supporting literature from Haider, Ringel, or Sadist, or some people, the biggest people in this world, that you can even incorporate 0.4. That means around 0.45 and above, 0.45 and above. And this student has shown the literature, sir, if this phenomenon is so complex, when the constructs are so much, there are chances that it may go down, and Haider supported it. Haider supported this argument, and hence, because you have to accept this one. This is a very complex phenomenon. This many number of constructs has been added. So please, sir, I'm telling you, based on supporting evidence, you have to accept it. And Professor Chandrakanthan Subramaniam has to accept it. So what I'm telling you is that it's not exactly somebody's. It's not like that. Sometimes, if this phenomenon is so complex, that particular time, that factor loading may be going to, but it's good if you get 0.75 and above. Maybe, I'm telling you very diplomatically, in the sense that if it's there, you are very safe in your proposal side, because you are getting all the senior professors and they all have this little bit knowledge which is already existing one. They might not have updated this kind of quotations and likewise, and they may definitely throw your proposal out. So diplomatic way, I may tell you, if it is getting 0.7 and above, 0.75 and above, you're very safe. But if you have some factor loading which is low, get the literature to support you from the same domain, not from the other domain, same domain, this many things happen. That's only logical way I can explain you this question.
Yeah, very nicely said, Prof. And you have again given a wonderful example that whatever you say, it should be backed by the references, because we say that we win this battle of research through references, that whether we know it, and if we know it, whether it is authentic, validated, and reliable knowledge or not. So very nicely said, Prof. One last question, Prof. Again, it is very important from the student perspective. There is one student that wants to ask that, Prof, do I need to collect data again if factor analysis of skills is given lesser factor than that is in the literature? Yes, please.
You know one thing. Once again, okay, I'll be giving you this example. When I was training in University Malaya, one session, one girl appeared, and she was so frustrated. She was almost crying. And at the end of the session, she was telling me one thing, Prof. Entire 4 years I spent for my thesis, and I'm getting only 2% predictability. 98% not valid. The constructs which have incorporated into the model, not valid. What I should do? I have to submit my thesis. And I'm sure about it, I'm going to fail. Only 2% prediction and 98% gone. And it's a real thing I'm telling you from my training program, which I used to do it in Malaysia. Then I told only one thing: don't tell the false things before the jury. Admit it, first of all. But before you admit that one, I may suggest you to go for a mixed method research, in which you start immediately with the same people where the negative scores are getting. There you need at least 10 to 15 interview process. Go for observation, content analysis, and interviews, everything. Get which variables which are not incorporated into the current model, which is totally indigenous one, customized one. It's not. So maybe Malaysian context, the variables she might have chosen not correct. That's what responses got it badly. And she did this 1 year extension, she got it. She did another, what you would say, research on the qualitative dimensions. And I'm telling you one thing, the model she got it from Conti is totally different from the model she got it from Quali. So the question, Haider, you can ask the question once again. This is one issue. So don't have to be frightened. You have an opportunity to do the mixed method research in the coming days. If Conti cannot explain properly, then the only possibility before you to finish off your thesis is Quali. That's we call it as, what you would say, in mixed method research, it is called as sequential explanatory study design. Sequential explanatory study, in which you start with a Conti and then going towards Quali to complement it. All right, so if factor analysis that particular time, if factor loading is going down, means that it's clear indication that that variable is not suitable to the respondents. That particular time, you can also do one thing. Your pilot test may be the wrong thing. You change the group. You change the group, change the location, and once again you try whether the same type of factor loading is coming up. If repetition is coming up, factor loading, take that construct out, it is not suitable. But if one population you are getting the right response, factor loading is very high, on the other side it is low, then you have to check once again. So don't finish your pilot testing by only one testing. You have to do, if things are complicated, you have to do 3 to 4 times or 5 times the pilot testing, because here lies this problem of your significance of the study. So if this is wrong, measurement model analysis is wrong, item analysis, item difficulty, and item distractions and discriminations, all these things are problem. Of course, it's going to precipitate. So let us clear this here itself. Do 3 to 4 time pilot testing and fix it. If you cannot change the factors directly by yourself, do the discriminant validity and convergent validity analysis properly, then do it. People will accept you.
Very nicely said, Prof. And once again, thank you very much for such an elaborative answer. The way you are answering is so superb. And I was thinking that if we had a workshop of 9 a.m. to 5 p.m., how much knowledge you would have shared with us. Very nicely said. One personal question from my side, Prof. What is your source of motivation for gaining so much knowledge all the time? You are engaged in so much research work and studying so many things, and you have reached to such a wonderful
very complex question, but very simply I can tell you, every day I'm exploring myself to be a new person, which I'm not seeing in the last day. You got it? So today you are seeing today with this kind of knowledge and this kind of content, and I don't want that kind of redundancy. Tomorrow when you see, something new should be there. So I'm exploring myself always. Second thing, the same society who have contributed to me to become what I am, and the same responsibility lying with me. Somebody supported me in my growth and they might have passed away, and now it's my role to build up the next generation in the right way, to do the research. You know that lot of rejections of journals, everything happening just because of they don't have that right grip on that particular subject or the way they're doing. So what I'm trying to fill it up is with my passion, and I'm trying to build up the new generation with it is truly unconditional. That's it.
Wow. Wow, very nicely said, Prof. Thank you very much.
Thank
And now
you.
it's time. Every guest we ask one question at the end. That what is your message to the world as a teacher, professor, researcher, trainer, learner, professional, and educator? Yes, please.
To the entire world.
Yes.
This is a very complex question. Haider, can you ask once again the question?
Yes, Prof. The question is what is your message to the world as a teacher, researcher, professor, trainer, learner, professional, and educator?
Being an educator, I do believe in 100% inclusive education. A lot of things we have to do for that. Certain part of our country, certain regions, they're totally devoid of technology. They're totally devoid of a lot of advantages which are enjoyed by the developed nations. And like I said, we need to provide proper education. We need to provide proper light to these people to come out of their dark side of education, and make them capable, make them empowered, and lead a sustainable life. This is exactly the motto with which I am trying my level best to get into the education part. And not only for the research aspect, I am trying to engage into education more and trying to build up this kind of inclusive education with which we can build up one day almost a kind of equality among the people, and with which they can sustain themselves.
Once again, very nice message to the world, and it's a global level message that we have to contribute at our level, and then the world can become a better place for the upcoming
Absolutely.
generation. Yeah, very
Absolutely.
nicely said. Thank you very
Thank
much,
you,
Prof.
Haider.
Yeah, indeed. What a wonderful session we had with the Prof. Dr. Dileep Kumar. Very nicely, he mentioned everything: the instrument, adaptation, and its development. We need to learn the basic principles of it. So do follow the distinguished guest speaker through his research work. You can email him for future learning and guidance. He is very generous and is always ready to help the people. Moreover, a wonderful explanation, powerful content which the great speaker has already elaborated will help you to learn and develop your understanding regarding the instrument development. So take advantage of all the information, important tips and suggestions shared by the expert. So that is all we have time for today. Thank you once again, Professor Dr. Dileep Kumar. And I would
Thank
also
you.
like to thank our audience who joined us. If you have any additional question about information shared today, you can email to us or you can connect to the speaker directly through his email or social media. Thank you
They
all
can
for your
connect.
yeah.
They can
Thank you
either
all.
they can connect through LinkedIn. So a lot of
Yes.
programs happening also. And recently, one copyright of research gap model, I got it
Okay.
from copyright from Indian government, and that you can easily download from LinkedIn and likewise can approach
Wonderful,
me.
wonderful. And we will mention your credential in this video description so that people can easily contact you for future guidance and learning. So stay tuned as many sessions are on the way. Please do not miss any session. Until next session, take care of yourself. Bye bye.